Welcome, everyone. We're so glad you're here. In this special explainer, brought to you by Revival Waves of Glory Ministries and Bill Vincent, we are diving headfirst into a post-apocalyptic chronicle of the end times. Get ready, because we're about to journey through a world that's been completely undone, following a band of survivors who are fighting for something more than just their next meal. They're fighting to rebuild humanity itself. You know, the story doesn't start with a bang. It starts with a sickness, a plague that just ripped across the globe like a wildfire, and it didn't care who you were. It completely overwhelmed hospitals, wiped out supplies, and turned these buzzing, vibrant cities into, well, silent tombs. The source material paints this absolutely chilling picture of the collapse, where you can almost feel the decay in the air, a constant, grim reminder of the billions of lives just snuffed out in the chaos. This is the world our survivors get, a world where everything they knew is just gone. Okay, so let's get into it. We've broken down this whole chronicle into 5 key stages to really understand the journey. We're going to start with the total collapse, then move into the brutal reality of the wasteland. After that, we'll look at the discovery of a so-called safe haven, see the challenge of building a new society from absolute scratch, and finally, watch how they fight for that little glimmer of hope for a new world. So, first up, the end of everything. This plague wasn't just some disease. It was like a giant reset button for society. Governments? Gone. Infrastructure? Crumbled. The rule of law? Evaporated. The world our characters have to navigate is basically a graveyard of memories, just a landscape of empty buildings and rusted cars where the silence is deafening. And this is where we meet Alex. Now, when we first see him, he is not some action hero. He's just a survivor, moving like a ghost through a derelict grocery store. You can just imagine the air thick with the smell of decay. He's not looking for a fight, he's just hoping to find a few cans of food someone might have missed. In this new world, every single can he finds isn't just food, it's a huge victory. It's a small act of defiance against this overwhelming despair of a dead world. And that brings us to the next phase, the wasteland. Because after the plague did its work, the world became a totally different kind of dangerous. See, survival wasn't just about avoiding infection anymore. Now, it was about navigating a world where the biggest threat wasn't a virus. It was the other desperate, hardened people who were left. So just as Alex has his small win, a bag with a few cans of food, that oppressive silence is shattered. A group of marauders, described as having these gleaming, malicious eyes, they just melt out of the shadows. These guys thrive on violence and chaos, and this moment is so important because it sets the new rule of the land. Might is right, and anything you have, someone else will try to take. Listen to these words from their leader. It's not just a threat, it's a performance, a show of power. That sneering tone, the fake promise of maybe letting Alex walk away, it just perfectly captures the predatory nature of this new world. And Alex knows it's a lie. Trust is a currency that's completely worthless now. And right here is where we see what Alex is really made of. He's outnumbered, he's outgunned, but he has one advantage: his brain. He doesn't freeze, he lunges, totally catching the leader off guard. And then, he uses his deep knowledge of the city's confusing streets and hidden tunnels to just vanish. It wasn't brute force that saved him. It was his smarts and his resourcefulness. Of course, Alex doesn't stay a lone wolf for long. He finds others: Mark, Sarah, a young girl named Lisa. And they form this fragile little group. And this table, it really shows their first big tests. I mean, these aren't just bullet points. The story details the back-breaking work of building a raft, the absolute heart-pounding terror of a night ambush where they have to fight together to survive, and just the profound relief of finding a simple stream with clean water. Every single victory, no matter how small, makes their bond stronger. So, after surviving the raw wilderness, the group's journey enters a whole new chapter. They're not just running from danger anymore. Now they're running towards something, the idea of a future. And their search leads them to what looks like a beacon of hope in this desolate landscape. And then they find it, a fortified community they call the Safe Haven. It's got high walls, watchtowers, armed guards. I mean, it's a real place. Inside, people are busy. There are gardens, workshops, a real glimpse of the world that was lost. The leader, a man named Marcus, offers them a spot, a purpose, a real chance. For just a moment, it feels like their struggle is finally over. And before we see what happens next, just a quick reminder that for more great content like this, you can always visit revivalwavesofgloryministries.com. But you know how these stories go? This is where things take a very sharp turn. That perfect promise of the safe haven starts to show cracks. On the surface, it's all order and safety. But underneath, Alex and his group uncover a terrifying secret.
The leadership is hiding something, and the very supplies that are supposed to keep everyone alive are actually a deadly threat. The danger isn't outside the walls anymore. It's inside, poisoning the community from within.
And this quote from Marcus, the leader, really says it all, doesn't it? He's trying to justify this massive deception by saying he's just protecting the community from panic. But what he's really protecting is his own power. And that's the central crisis here. Is a flawed peace, one that's built on a dangerous lie, better than a messy, chaotic truth? The leadership chose control over the lives of their people, and that sets the stage for a huge conflict. So, this discovery forces a huge confrontation. I mean, exposing the truth could tear the safe haven apart, maybe even destroy the only sanctuary they have. And this brings us to the next massive challenge. Not just surviving, but figuring out how to build a just and open society on a foundation of completely broken trust. But instead of just letting the community implode, Alex and his group take a different path. They don't try to seize power for themselves. They empower the people. They carefully gather all the evidence and present it at a big community meeting. And yeah, the revelation shatters the old power structure. But instead of chaos, they do something truly remarkable. They hold a fair, transparent election. The community chooses new leaders, Sarah and Elena, based on trust they've actually earned. And you can see the results almost immediately. It's tangible. With this new sense of shared purpose, everyone gets to work. They don't just talk about a better future, they literally build it. They reinforce the gates, organize a security team that's actually watching out for everyone, and they start a community garden that becomes this amazing symbol of their shared effort and their hope. They're finally turning from a collection of survivors into a real community. Okay, that brings us to the final act of this chronicle. Just as the community is finding its footing, solidifying its new identity, and really starting to thrive, their strength is put to the ultimate test. The dangers of the wasteland haven't gone anywhere, and a new massive threat appears on the horizon. A new enemy force, described as being heavily armed and super organized, launches a full-scale attack on the safe haven. Now, this isn't some random gang of marauders. This is a calculated assault designed to take every single thing they've built. The battle that follows isn't just for supplies or land. It's a fight for their right to exist and for the new world they're trying so hard to create. During the brutal fighting, the community suffers a devastating loss. Mark, who is a key member of the group right from the very beginning, makes the ultimate sacrifice. And in that moment of grief, Alex's words become a rallying cry. Mark's death isn't for nothing. It becomes this powerful symbol of what they're all fighting for. They're not just defending walls anymore. They're defending the memory of their friends and the dream of a future that's worth dying for. And when you look at this timeline, you really get the full, incredible scope of their journey. I mean, from the ashes of a global pandemic, this small group comes together, they survive the absolute horrors of the wasteland, they confront corruption from the inside, and they rebuild a society on the principles of trust and transparency. Their final, hard-won victory isn't really an endpoint, it's a confirmation of their strength and their incredible resilience. The story wraps up a year later, showing us the fruits of all that labor. The community, now settled in a hidden valley, isn't just getting by, it's thriving. They formed alliances with other groups, they're using new technologies like renewable energy, and they've built a society that honors the sacrifices of the past while looking forward with real optimism. They actually built a home. Well, there you have it. We hope this explainer has given you a really clear and engaging look into this sprawling story of collapse, survival, and ultimately rebirth. It's just a powerful story about how, even after the world ends, humanity's greatest struggle and its greatest strength is found in each other. For more information on a post-apocalyptic chronicle of the end times and to explore more fantastic content from Bill Vincent and Revival Waves of Glory Ministries, be sure to check out their website. We'll leave you with that one last question to chew on. The virus might have ended civilization as they knew it, but maybe the real test was whether the survivors could overcome their own fear and suspicion to build something new and something better in its place. Thank you for listening to the Deep Dive Podcast.